Hi everyone, I'm just going to give you a few key facts about Arbonne's Suncare range and why it is that our Suncare range is so good and why it's going to be so beneficial to so many people, especially at this time of year, either out in the UK sun when we get it or to all of those people going on holiday. It's a great way if you're talking to somebody, if they either suffer from sunburn, suffer from prickly heat, get a patchy tan. These are just some key facts that I think will be beneficial to all of you. SPF means sun protection factor. A lot of people think that an SPF 30 gives you twice as much protection as an SPF 15. This isn't right. It varies for each person. So an SPF 30 will protect you 30 times longer than you would burn without sun cream. So for example, if an average person burnt in 10 minutes with no protection, what that would mean is with an SPF 30, you would have 30 times more protection than that. Therefore, it would mean you'd be protected for 300 minutes. One thing to always bear in mind though is that creams still need to be applied at least every 2 hours for maximum protection. A lot of people wear a higher factor thinking that they have to apply it less often and still burn. All Arbonne sun creams have broad spectrum, and what broad spectrum means is you're protected against both UVA and UVB rays. But why do we need broad spectrum? So we need to protect against the two different rays because they are both damaging to the skin. So the UVA rays are what we would class as the aging rays, and they penetrate the skin a lot deeper, and they also are around all year. Whereas the UVB rays are what they class as the burning rays, and they would just impact the top layer, so the superficial layers of the skin. And the UVB rays tend to be stronger between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m, which is why we recommend staying out of the sun between these times. So one of the other things as well to bear in mind, and it's just a little fact for you all, is by sustaining 5 or more sunburns in your youth can increase your risk of skin cancer by 80%. This is why it's important to start teaching children the facts of sunburn. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people think that the higher the factor they use, the more protection they get. That's not true. So one of the things to know and to understand is what protection you get with various SPFs. So an SPF 15 can block out 93% of the sun's rays, and an SPF 30 can block out 97% of the rays. But then an SPF 50 would only block out an additional 1% and block out 98% of the rays. This is why it's only recommended to go as high as an SPF 30, because the increase from a 30 to a 50, the UVB protection is minimal. Another great thing about Arbonne sun creams is they have physical protection. So what that means is there's two different types of protection you can get against the sun. There's the chemical protectors and then the physical. The chemical absorbers, as they're classed, are contained within a lot of the high street branded sun creams. And the difference with those is they actually absorb the UV rays and can release their energy in harmful ways. Whereas physical blockers, which are natural minerals, and they tend to be zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. They actually reflect the UV rays so that it cannot penetrate the skin. So it is therefore giving you a much better protection. Zinc oxide and titanium can have a slight white residue, so when you put our sun creams on, they can leave like a slight white residue, but that's a good thing because that is literally just showing you the protection that you're getting. The main problems that you'll probably come up against when you meet people and you're talking to people about sun creams this year are prickly heat, which is really common and is an itchy rash which tends to have raised spots. And it's normally caused by trapped heat. So when creams sit really heavy on the skin, they block the pores, trapping heat underneath the skin, which causes this reaction. And it can normally take about 2 to 3 days for prickly heat to appear once you've been in the sun. And it is literally caused by the waxes that are contained within the creams. The best way to avoid it is to not use anything on the skin that will block the pores. So that includes not using sun creams that are heavy on the skin, not using any body lotions, so any after suns that are heavy on the skin, and shower gels as well, along with not applying perfume. And prickly heat is most commonly found on the chest and on the feet. Another sun-related problem is sunburn, which is caused when products are either not applied often enough or when people wear a too low factor. And that's something that we're all aware of and that we've all seen. And then a patchy tan and redness as well is another common problem. And this is again just caused by people using the wrong factor and also by waxy sun creams, sitting on the skin and sweating off the skin and melting in certain areas more than others, causing you to get redness. So why use Arbonne sun creams? So there's so many reasons, which we've already mentioned today. Number one, broad spectrum. So they protect you against those UVA aging rays and those UVB burning rays. They contain zinc oxide, which, if you remember, actually reflects the sun's rays off the skin, doesn't absorb it. They all contain aloe vera, which is a fantastic healing product, and it also allows the skin to breathe, so it's great for people with prickly heat. But most importantly, remember that whilst you're applying the sun cream, because it's got the aloe vera in it, it's healing the skin whilst you're in the sun. So rather than just doing it once a day on an evening, you're constantly doing it every time you reapply your sun creams. It also helps to hydrate the skin. All of our sun creams contain an ingredient called squalane, which helps to hydrate the skin. And remember, the better hydrated your skin is, the better and the easier it tans, and also the longer your tan lasts. So win-win all round. And don't forget, also really important, don't forget that jelly. Keep putting it on after you've been in the sun. It's great for sunburn and just really helps to look after the skin after it's been out in the sun. So one last thing I just want to tell you all about is sun cream application, which is really key to getting the most out of your sun creams. A myth is that the amount of sun cream you use isn't important. That is completely wrong. When SPFs are measured, they tend to do it with 2 milligrams per square centimetre of skin. But when people actually use a sun cream, they tend to only use 0.5 millimetres per square centimetre of skin. So what that actually means is that the actual SPF that they're achieving is approximately a third of the labelled value. So therefore, it's really important when you're telling people about our sun creams, if they're going to get the benefit out of it, that you really tell them how to use the sun creams. Remember, don't rub them onto the skin. The more you rub, the more you're rubbing it into the skin, remembering that our sun creams actually protect the skin by reflecting the sun's rays. So what they need to do is put it onto the skin and actually lay it into the skin, and then allow the cream to absorb itself. Always apply after swimming, and again, as I've mentioned 2 or 3 times, apply at least every 2 hours. And this is key, always remembering to take regular shade breaks. Try and get out of the sun between the key hours, which is between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And keep yourself well hydrated as well, a key to getting a great tan. Let the sunshine, baby.